Before we begin our Podbeth, a few words from our sponsors.
Rose soap, now being sold at your local market. Wash off the blood of your guilt for only 2 shillings.
Back to our Podbeth.
Welcome back to Podbeth, a true crime podcast for peasants.
In today's episode, we are going to be taking a deep dive into the mysterious death of King Duncan. My name's Manu.
My name's Laura.
And in today's episode, we are debunking Duncan.
We're informed this eventide that the dear King of Scotland has mysteriously perished. King Duncan was found in his bedchambers tonight, unresponsive, with gashes on his neck, back, and stomach.
It is said to be foul play.
Well, obviously, but regardless, the news has sent shockwaves through the kingdom. King Duncan was known for his fairness and benevolence, and his sudden demise has left the people of Scotland in a state of grief and confusion as well.
Outside of his bedchamber, King Duncan's 2 guards were found dead and bloodied, covered in what is said to be the king's own blood and yielding daggers. His 2 passionate guards are the leading suspects of this case.
It really is a shock that the people entrusted with the king's own safety could cause such treason.
Well, not exactly. Public speculation and rumors of the true perpetrator of the crimes have spread throughout. The public is demanding answers, and the pressure is mounting on the authorities to bring the culprits to justice.
In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down possible suspects and their motives.
We were unable to interview the guards as Macbeth killed them in a crime of passion.
When questioned of why Macbeth would do such a thing, he described it as somewhat of a fit of rage and an act of impulse.
Likely story.
Perhaps. So let's not jump to conclusions. According to Macbeth, the 2 guys were found outside the king's bedchamber at around 12:45 p.m. or a.m. actually, with blood-stained hands. This has made them top suspects of the case, but people are somewhat speculative. It seems almost unlikely that committing such a heavy-weighted act would have one not flee immediately from the crime scene and instead stay idly enough for someone to catch them. This has led some to believe that the guards may have been framed and there may have been outside involvement and or more foul play in the king's death. Bless you.
May is right. There are many other suspects in this case, 2 of which being the king's own sons, Malcolm and Donovan. Malcolm being Duncan's oldest son and the rightful heir to the throne, and Donovan, being the youngest, have both fled Scotland. Some say they are protecting themselves from assassination, but others say they are fleeing the crime and have some involvement.
Perhaps it was their power-hungry nature to want more than just inheritable royalty.
I understand that, but I don't think it's unreasonable for them to flee. After all, there is a likelihood of them being next if the individual is truly hungry for power.
I mean, yeah, that's reasonable. And it seems as if no one is safe from suspicion. Although close with the king, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have both been under scrutiny as of late. With the king's death and both heirs to the throne leaving, it is said that Macbeth may be crowned king in June in Scone. This has, however, stirred some unease amongst the people of Scotland.
Duncan's last whereabouts were at Macbeth's own castle in a celebration of his battle victory and new title as Thane of Cawdor. given by the king. It would seem almost unlikely that Macbeth would do such an ugly thing to someone who has treated him so well, almost as if he was his own son.
Yes. Well, some have noticed Macbeth's almost aloofness to Duncan's passing, seemingly unwarranted considering how generous and kind Duncan was towards him and his wife. Maybe he is taking it well, or perhaps he has some sort of involvement within the king's passing. Alongside this, reports from Macbeth's close friend and one of the king's military men, Banquo, say that Macbeth was roaming the castle unusually late at night at the time of the murder. Perhaps fatigue or otherwise something more sinister.
We have spoken with some of Macbeth's close comrades who know he is very avoidant of the topic of the king's death and is overall very jumping when discussed. All being said, for us, it is best to treat lightly as he is likely soon to be king. As for the future of Scotland, all that can be said is there is unease sharing within the kingdom's walls. Townsfolk have become paranoid with many abandoning their jobs and fields. People fear for the future of Scotland as England grows restless. We have managed to interview some of the kingdom's folks. Mary Dallin, the town seamstress, said this: "I don't think it's fair those two hybrid freaks lady, Macbeth and Macbeth, are allowed to go up to the throne so easily. It's clear that those traitors killed our king, and I demand justice."
In other news, weather outbreaks of large wind alongside floods have suddenly started to make way. In
You
other
skipped
news,
Jonathan Poliana!
what?
You skipped Jonathan Poliana!
I didn't skip Jonathan Puliana, bro. Wait. In other news, weather outbreaks of large wind alongside floods have suddenly started. So it is best to make sure you stay inside with your windows covered with cloth, linen, or any other materials, and it is best to stay indoors during these storms. Bless you. To all the farmers watching, make sure to keep a close eye on your crops and your animals, as there is reports of hysterics between cattle and other livestock, especially since the passing of King Duncan. Jonathan Polinda, the farmer of the West Bank territory, had this to say: "Ever since King Duncan died, my crops have been drying up. We need his presence to present prosperity back to Scotland. For now, there's nothing much we can do, as the details of this case are quite scarce. But for future updates, make sure to tune in to Debunking Duncan."
Thanks for tuning into episode 17 of Debunking Duncan. Godspeed.
Godspeed.
I'll submit.
Credits.
Podcast hosted by Elora Rye Walls and Manu Winnie.
Thanks for listening and fare thee well.